Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how I do my acrylic sets. So I will be using nail tips and acrylic. So here what I'm doing is prepping her cuticles. So I'm using that bit that you guys just saw right now. I believe I bought that from Nova Beauty Co. And I'll tag that on the description below. A lot of different nail techs are now selling it too. And what I'm doing here, as you can see, I start from one end and go to the other. I don't go back and forth. And what I will do afterwards, so I'm going here from right to left. And you also want to get any dry skin on their fingers, on like the side of the nail, to make sure that it's nice and clean. And then I will go back with the nail drill going the other way. So that way you can make sure that you're lifting every single part of the cuticle and you're not leaving any skin behind, which will help with all your lifting. You can do this for acrylics, for gelics, for just gel nails, to make sure that it all sticks very well and that it lasts a very long time. So from here, what I will be doing then is actually clipping her cuticles. So I start from one end and just go all the way across till I clip them all off. I go one by one. You go ahead and lift everything with the nail bit. So when you're clipping, it's pretty easy to see what it is that you need to clip so that you're not over cutting the cuticles. You want to make sure that you don't cut your clients. But go ahead, and as you can see there all the lifted skin that is coming right off. I do this for all fingers. This is what I call, and this is what I was taught, they're called dry manicures. I think they're Russian dry manicures. That's how I learned. I'm not sure if anybody else did them beforehand, but that's just how I learned it. Afterwards, I go through with this one here. It's like a little ball, and it removes any little pieces that you may have missed, but it also pushes the cuticles back a little bit more. So it creates that like little ridge of the cuticle so that when you're actually applying the acrylic, it looks like the nails are growing right out of like the natural nail. So it makes it look very natural. Afterwards, what I do is I go over the nail with a nail file, just to go ahead and remove all the shine. This is a 150-180 nail file. I don't use anything coarser than that on the natural nail. And you don't need to use the sanding band if you don't want to use the electric file. This has always worked very well for me, and I make sure that I don't overfile the client's nail. This is also something I learned from another class that I took. It's very easy to overfile the nail when you're using the electric file, even if you're going very slow. So I just got used to doing it this way. Again, I'm not a professional, and there are a ton of different other ways that you guys can do nails. This is what works for me. After that, I go ahead and size the nails. Here I'm using some stiletto straight nails so they don't curve down. I have found that in my case, when I do not have nails that curve down, it is a lot easier to have longer nails without them getting in the way. And I'm using that nail glue that I bought at Sally's Beauty Supply. And for some reason, it wasn't sticking as fast as I would like it to, but we were able to make it work. And I really like how it works. You just want to make sure that you file the whole nail first so that it sticks better. If there's any shine on the nail when you stick the nail extension on there, it might make it to where it lifts after you've done the nail. So then I went ahead and cut them to the desired length with those scissors that you see there on the right hand side. And what I'm doing now is I am getting those edges from the nail tip to be flush with the natural nail. What I found is that when I used colored acrylic and I didn't get those nail tips on the corner nice and flush and sanded down, when I would be doing the final filing, it would remove all of the colored acrylic and leave that nail tip out. So what I do is I make sure that I get the corners very, very flush to the natural nail, so that when I am doing that final filing for the colored acrylic, you won't be able to see anything on those little corners. So you can see I really go in on those sides to make sure that that doesn't happen. I learned it the hard way. This is a little tip for you guys so that you don't have to do what I did. So here I am, just making sure that everything's done correctly. And also make sure that you take your time with the shaping. If you do a correct shaping from the beginning, everything else that follows becomes a lot easier. The application of the acrylic, if you do it smoothly, it really diminishes the filing that you have to do of the actual acrylic afterwards. So make sure you take your time, make sure your client is happy with the shape. Ask them as you're filing. It also makes them feel like, you actually care about what they want. So once I'm done with all the filing of the nail tips, I go ahead and put the nail dehydrator. This is to make sure that all of the moisture on the nails is gone. And then I go in with my protein bond from Young Nails, sorry. And I am also using Young Nails monomer. The acrylic that I'm using is actually from Nova Beauty Co. and it is in rose pink. Look at how beautifully it applies. This acrylic makes doing and creating those flush cuticles so easy. You'll see in the final picture that it looks really, really cute. So I went ahead, I don't have like a 1 ball, 2 ball, 3 ball method. I have more of as many balls as I need method. Only because you want to make sure that, you cover every single section. Maybe it is faster, I don't know, I haven't tried doing the other methods. But what I do know is that I add enough acrylic to make the nail shape that I want, so that when I'm filing, it is a lot easier for me and I have a very strong built nail. And the color here is really, really pretty. It's almost like a see-through dusty pink. I don't know how else to describe it, but I really, really love it. So I went ahead and did all the nails this way, as you can see. Make sure that you add enough on the nail tip. For me, it's very easy for me to leave them too thin, but then as you're wearing them, if they're too thin, they just feel like they're gonna fall off and break, and it's not the best wear. So you do want to make sure that you do it thick enough, but not too thick. This here, I'm just going to be adding top coat, but if you are going to be adding gel polish, make sure that you do a rather thin layer of acrylic, because what happens is the gel polish will add a good amount of thickness to the nails. So you can take your time shaping, doing all your acrylic, but when you're adding the nail polish, the gel polish, it adds so much thickness that it takes away the shape and makes the nails look bulky. So if you're going to be using gel polish to actually add color to the nails, not just the colored acrylic, make sure that you leave them a little bit thinner than you normally would, so that it allows you to use your gels without necessarily taking away the shape of the nail or making it look bulky. Nobody wants bulky acrylic nails. They're just not as cute and feminine as you would want. Now I'm also using a number 6 brush from Nail Labo. I believe it's called Nail the Dance. It is honestly the best nail brush. I've tried different nail brushes. This one made a huge difference for me. It makes the application a lot easier and doing the flush cuticles a lot easier too. I wasn't able to get the flush cuticles like this until I got that brush. Not saying it's the brush, but it definitely has a lot to do with it. If you're using a cheaper brush or whatever the case, it does make it a little bit harder. So when it comes to brushes, I would say yes, invest in something. I think this one was like $30, not necessarily the cheapest, but it was totally worth it. Honestly, it's my go-to. I go to it every single time, even though I have other bigger brushes that might make it quicker. I just love how this one works around the cuticles and everything else. And this one I was actually recommended by Nails Julie G, who's in Ontario, California. I was watching one of her lives and she mentioned it on there, and it's been a game changer for me. So I definitely recommend it. I'll also be adding it in the description box for you guys. Once I apply all the acrylic, what I do is go in with a safety bit and file right around the cuticle area. What that does is set the stage for like what I will be filing afterwards. I try to use my hand file as much as possible. So here what I do is I go around the cuticles with that safety bit, and I make sure that I look at it from the side and create that nice little arch that I love. I created with this one. So as I'm applying the acrylic, I go ahead and make sure that I put enough on the cuticle area to where it's going to be a nice little arch once I go in and file with this. So you see what I'm talking about in the final pictures too. But if there's any big bulk, I try to remove it with this one. But if there isn't, if you're careful with your application, you won't have really big bulk, and it'll allow you to quickly get through to the cuticles. And then when you're hand file, you can just even it out. For a while, I wasn't using my hand file afterwards to finish it off, and I do see a big difference. This is just my personal preference. It is a lot quicker if you don't use the hand file as much as I do, but I just really like the finish of it. So I always finish off the nails in my hand file. It just makes it a lot easier, and I have a lot more control of using the hand file and creating the nail shape that I want without filing too much. So it works for me, and hopefully it works for you too. Here what I did once I was done filing, I went ahead and did the I put some clear polish over it, and then I went ahead and put in some holographic powder. And what that does is create such a beautiful effect for these nails. That pink with the holographic turned out looking super, super cute. We weren't sure if we were gonna do just one nail or all of them, but after we did this pinky, we were like, okay, all of them it is. A lot of the times my clients come in with an idea, but we end up changing it as we go. So here's where we made the decision that all the nails were going to be with that holographic glitter. And then after I put the glitter on, I went ahead and went in with a thicker top coat to make sure that it encapsulates the glitter. Normally, to make sure that it doesn't flake off, you want to use like a rubber based or like a rubbery, a thicker rubbery top coat to make sure that it encapsulates the glitters or anything like that. This is not a chunky glitter, but I like to add it still. But normally it's recommended more so for the chunky glitters to make sure that it makes sure that everything stays put and nothing flakes off as you are going about your day. And that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any questions, and we will be back soon with more designs. Thank you for watching. Bye.